Chapter 10. Shelter and Stories. The Missouri dusk bled into night as the group trudged toward Ellsinore, their backpacks heavy with the last of their supplies. Cans of chili, tuna, and a few granola bars, barely enough for a week. 3 days after abandoning their gasless SUV and truck, the weight of Tyson's blood and Collin's first kill clung to them like damp rot. The walk had been grueling, the road a mosaic of cracked asphalt and despair, a Kerfur desert, and the stone turn's moans echoed in the dusk. Its windows shattered, a child's crayon drawing of a dog flapping in the wind, smeared with dried blood, a gas station with toppled pumps, its sign reading "No fuel" scrawled in faded marker. A corpse slumped against a mile marker, its jaw unhinged, crows pecking at its hollowed eyes. Stone-turned moaned in distant fields, their calcified silhouettes jerking against the horizon, too slow to catch up, but too close for comfort.
Atrocity rate 7. Collin led with his compound bow, arrows rattling, his prepper instincts sharp despite the ache in his legs. James followed, rifle ready, his ex-marine strides steady, but his face etched with fatigue. Emery pulled her medical cart, its wheels grinding, her level-headed calm fraying at the edges. Cameron clutched the Missouri map, his glasses fogged, while Jackson, pistol tucked in his belt, scanned the shadows, his sprinter's energy dulled by hunger. Marcus, mid-60s, gray hair wild, walked with Maria, his 7th-grade granddaughter, her pigtails limp, her eyes wide with fear but softened by trust. The group's rescue of the pair, Collin's arrow and knife felling a stone turned, had forged a fragile bond, but the road south to farmland was unforgiving. Ellsinore emerged through the haze, a small town of sagging buildings and silent streets. A rusted sign read, "Welcome to Ellsinore, Pop 462." Its letters peeling like dead skin. The group spotted an old shopping mall, its brick facade cracked but standing, its parking lot littered with overturned carts and a burned-out sedan, its hood crumpled, a bloodied handprint smeared on its door. The mall's glass entrance was shattered, but a few smaller shops along the side had intact doors, their windows cloudy but whole. "Looks like shelter," James said, voice low, "but we clear it first." They approached, weapons raised. A low moan echoed from the lot's edge. 2 stone-turned, their stone-crusted skin glinting, shuffled 30 yards away. One's face was a calcified mask, its eyes sunk in pits, teeth gnashed to jagged stubs, drooling a chalky sludge that hissed on the pavement. Its arm was a mass of bone-like spikes, scraping the ground. The other's chest bulged with pulsing sores, its fingers fused into claws, twitching like a broken marionette. Their guttural hum vibrated in the group's chests, a sound that clawed at their nerves. Collin knocked an arrow, his aim steady despite his racing heart. "I've got the left one." James nodded, rifle up. "Right's mine, now." Collin's arrow zipped, piercing the first stone-turn's neck. It collapsed, twitching, sludge pooling. James fired a single shot, the bullet punching through the second's chest, dropping it in a heap. The gunshot's echo made Emery flinch, but the lot stayed quiet. No more moans, no looters. They pried open a shop door, a former bookstore, its sign reading "Ellsinore Reads," half faded. Inside, the air was musty, thick with the scent of mildewed paper and dust. Shelves stood half empty, books scattered across the carpet, their pages curling like dead leaves. A children's section had a beanbag chair, its stuffing leaking, and a poster of a smiling cat torn at the edges. The back room, a small office, was intact, its door lockable. They barricaded it with a desk, spreading their pillows and blankets on the floor, the lantern's dim glow their only light. The group settled, their faces gaunt, clothes stiff with weeks of grime. Their food was down to a handful of cans, the last granola bars crumbling. Emery opened a can of peaches, the sweet syrup a rare gift, and passed it around. Maria, clutching a tattered stuffed bunny, took a small bite, her smile fleeting but real. Marcus, his weathered face heavy with grief, ate slowly, the sweetness doing little to lift his eyes. Collin broke the silence, his voice gentle. "Marcus, you and Maria, what happened before we found you?" Marcus exhaled, his hands trembling, liver spots stark against his pale skin. "I'm 64, retired from the steel factory in Poplar Bluff. Worked the line 30 years, fixing machines, coming home to Annette, my wife, sweetest woman, baked pies for the neighbors, sang hymns off-key.
He forced a smile, then faltered.
When the news hit about the Whitestone virus, we figured help was coming. Military, FEMA, local cops. Someone set up camps like after hurricanes. I'd seen it on TV, you know. Quarantine zones, food drops. We boarded our windows, stocked the pantry, waited for the radio to say something. Every day, I'd tell Annette, "They're coming, darling. Just hold on." He paused, his voice cracking. Help never came. The radio went static. Power died. Phones too. Hazelwood turned into a war zone. Screams, gunfire. Those stone turned everywhere. Second day, Annette went to check the yard. Thought she heard a neighbor. One of those things got her. I heard her scream, ran out, saw it tear into her arm. She was gone before I could drag her inside, her blood all over the porch. Sweet, kind Annette didn't deserve that. Maria sniffled, hugging her bunny tighter. Marcus pulled her close, his voice steadying. Maria was staying the weekend. Her parents were in St. Louis. Supposed to pick her up. They never came. Don't know if they're alive. It's been me and her since, hiding in barns, basements, scavenging what we could. She's a good kid, friendly, loves school, 7th grade, wanted to be a vet. But she's scared, and I can't blame her. I'm all she's got now. The group listened, their own losses echoing in Marcus's words. Collin thought of his family, his mom's warm hugs, his brother's gaming nights, wondering if they'd survived. James, divorced, no kids, saw Annette's death in the faces of comrades lost in Iraq. Emery and Cameron, married, gripped each other's hands, their love a shield against the world's cruelty. Jackson, detached from his fling, felt the pang for his track team, their laughter a ghost. They'd all lost something: homes, futures, normalcy, and the weight of Tyson's blood, of survival's cost, pressed harder. Emery, her eyes soft, spoke. "I'm so sorry, Marcus. We've all lost people. But you and Maria are with us now." Maria looked up, her voice small. "You're nice. I like peaches." The group managed faint smiles, the sweetness of fleeting balm. But their food was nearly gone, the last cans a grim countdown. Collin's map lay open, Ellsinore a speck on the road south. They needed a plan, and fast. Marcus cleared his throat, a spark in his eyes. "I know this area. Grew up here. My house is a mile west, near the Black River. Got fishing rods in the garage. Good ones. The river's full of bass, catfish, maybe trout. I'm damn near a professional fisherman. Won local tournaments, fed my family for years. There's stone turned in the neighborhood, no doubt, but we can handle them. Get those rods, we eat for weeks." James nodded, impressed. "That's a plan. We shelter here tonight, move at dawn. Collin, you and I lead, clear any stone turned. Emery, Cameron, keep Maria safe. Jackson, Marcus, back us up." Collin gripped his bow, the idea of fish lifting his spirits. "Sounds good, we've got this." Emery smiled, her calm returning. "Fresh food, that's something to fight for." Cameron folded the map, hopeful. "River's a lifeline, let's do it." Jackson tossed his stress ball, grinning. "Fish fry, I'm in." Maria giggled, the sound a rare light. Marcus hugged her, his depression easing, if only a fraction. The group settled on their pillows, the bookstore's musty quiet wrapping them in fragile safety. They'd face stone turn tomorrow, but for now, the promise of fishing, of survival. Let them sleep with a flicker of joy. The mall outside was silent, but the stone turn's moans lingered in the distance, a reminder of the world waiting to break them. Chapter 11. The Cost of Survival. Dawn broke over Ellsinore, the sky a sickly gray, casting the old shopping mall in a pall of shadows. The group huddled in the bookstore's back office, their makeshift shelter of scattered books and musty carpet. Their food was down to 3 cans: peaches, beans, tuna, and a half-empty case of water, a grim reminder of their fragility. Marcus's promise of fishing rods from his house, a mile west near the Black River, was their lifeline. The group's faces were gaunt, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, haunted by Tyson's blood and the stone turn's moans. Maria clung to her tattered bunny, her 7th grade optimism dimmed but not gone. Cameron unfolded the Missouri map, its creases worn, and traced a route to Marcus's neighborhood. It's a straight shot west, past the old mill, through a residential area. Back roads, low traffic. Should take 20 minutes on foot. Marcus, his gray hair tucked under a faded cap, nodded. I know those streets like my own hands. Quiet path, but they'll be stone-turned, always are. Collin, checking his bowstring, agreed. We move fast, stay low. Marcus leads, I'm second. James takes the rear for cover. Jackson, you're with us. James, cleaning his rifle, grunted. Emery, Cameron, Maria, stay here. This mall's the safest spot we've got. Barricade the door. Keep the cart ready. Emery, packing her medical kit, frowned. Be careful. If you get scratched. Her voice faltered, the memory of Annette's death heavy. Maria hugged Marcus, her voice small. Come back, Grandpa. I will, kiddo, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. The four men set out, leaving the mall's cracked parking lot behind. Marcus led, his retiree's frame steady, his factory worker hands gripping a crowbar. Collin followed, bow knocked, his prepper instincts sharp. Jackson, pistol in hand, moved cautiously, his sprinter speed no match for his inexperience. James brought up the rear, rifle sweeping the shadows, his ex-Marine eyes missing nothing. Marcus glanced back, a faint smile breaking his grief. I like how you call them stone-turned. Fits their look, rock hard, empty. I've been using it too. Collin nodded, warmed by the trust. Thanks, seemed right. The road to the neighborhood was a scar through Ellsinore's corpse. A laundromat's windows gaped. Dryers spilling blood-streaked sheets. A pickup truck lay flipped, its windshield shattered. A child's car seat tangled in the wreckage, its straps torn. A mailbox overflowed with soggy flyers. Relievex, relief in minutes. Crumpled among them, the eyrie bitter. The air reeked of rot and wet ash, the silence broken by distant moans. A playground loomed, its swings dangling from rusted chains. A slide warped into a grotesque curl. A teddy bear's head, half buried in mud, one eye missing. A crow perched on a fence, pecking at a fingerless hand, its nails black with decay. Marcus's neighborhood emerged, a grid of ranch-style homes, their lawns choked with weeds, windows dark or boarded. Driveways held abandoned cars, one with a bloodied handprint on its hood, another with its door ajar, keys glinting in the ignition. A basketball hoop tilted, its net shredded, a deflated ball rotting beneath. Porches sagged, some with overturned chairs, others with dried blood pooling on welcome mats. A garden gnome lay shattered, its painted smile split in half. The air was thick with the stench of mildew and something sweeter, like rotting fruit, undercut by the chalky tang of stone turned. Moans echoed, closer now, a guttural hum that vibrated in the group's bones. They crouched behind a rusted SUV, its tires flat, a baby on board sticker peeling. 3 stone turned, shuffled 20 yards away, their calcified skin cracking like desert earth. One's face was a ruin, half encrusted, its eye a milky pit, teeth gnashed to stubs, drooling a sizzling sludge. Another's arm was a club of fused bone, scraping furrows in the grass, its chest pulsing with tumorous sores. The third's neck bulged with bone-like plates, its claws twitching, tearing at the air. Their moans wove a chorus of hunger, chilling the morning air. Collin whispered, I've got the first. He sprang up, knife drawn, and lunged, driving the blade into the first stone turn's neck. It gurgled, collapsing, sludge pooling. James charged, kicking the second in the chest, its ribs cracking like dry wood. He pinned it and drove his knife through its skull, the crunch echoing. 2 down. Jackson, eager to prove himself, spotted the third. I got it. He rushed in, mimicking James, but his knife glanced off the creature's calcified shoulder. The stone turned slashed, its claws raking Jackson's leg, tearing through denim and flesh. Jackson screamed, stumbling, blood streaming down his shin. Collin's arrow was knocked in a heartbeat, piercing the stone turn's chest. It staggered, and James finished it with a rifle butt to the skull, the creature crumpling. They grabbed Jackson, his face pale, pain twisting his features. I'm okay, it's just a scratch. I can still help, Jackson yelled, voice cracking, but his leg buckled, blood soaking the grass. Collin and Marcus froze, eyes wide with shock, the word scratch a death knell. James' face hardened, his voice a command. Marcus, Collin, go get the rods. Grab what you can from the house. I'll get Jackson back to Emery. Collin nodded, heart pounding, and followed Marcus, who sprinted to his house, a faded blue rancher, its shutters askew, a broken bird bath in the yard. The front door was ajar, a bloody smear on the frame.
Inside, the air was stale, smelling of mildew and grief. Photos lined the walls. Annette's smile, Maria's school pictures, Marcus in fishing gear grinning by the river. They grabbed 3 fishing rods from the garage, their reels intact, and a tackle box of lures. Collin found 2 cans of corn and a bag of rice in the pantry. Marcus a 5-gallon gas canister, half full, under the sink. They stuffed it all in a duffel, sprinting back, the neighborhood's moans trailing them. At the mall, James burst through the bookstore door, Jackson limp in his arms. "Emery, help!" he yelled. Emery ran out, her medical kit ready, seeing Jackson's bleeding leg. "What happened?" "Stone turned. It slashed him," James said, laying Jackson on a table. Jackson groaned, pain searing, blood pooling beneath him. Emery and Cameron worked fast, Emery cutting away his pant leg, revealing a deep gash, flesh torn but not severed. She poured antiseptic, Jackson hissing, and stitched it with steady hands, Cameron holding a flashlight. They bandaged it tightly, stopping the bleeding, but the wound's depth haunted them. They moved Jackson to a chair in the office, locking the door, his face pale but awake. The group gathered, Maria sobbing, clutching her bunny. Emery's hands shook, her calm shattered. Cameron paced, muttering, "Not Jackson." Collin and Marcus returned, their hull dumped, faces grim. James' voice heavy, broke the silence. "Let's just put him down, humanely, and maybe he won't experience pain." Collin's eyes blazed. "How could you suggest that? That's our friend. He's done so much for us. You think I want this to happen?" James snapped. "I love Jackson just as much as you." Cameron raised a hand, desperate. "What if he doesn't turn? Jackson never took the medicine. Maybe he won't turn." The group paused, hope flickering. Emery nodded, her nurse's resolve returning. "I can keep him safe, monitor the wound for infection. We secure him, watch him."
Prosody rate +7%. If he's clean, he lives. Collin met James' gaze, steady. "We wait. He's one of us." Marcus, watching quietly, spoke. "James, why don't you come fishing with me? The river's a short walk. Getting air to clear your head would help." James sighed, slinging his rifle. "Yeah, okay." Collin gripped his bow. "I'll keep the group safe. Go." James and Marcus walked to the Black River, its waters sluggish under a gray sky, willows drooping along its banks. They cast lines. The lures glinting, the silence heavy. A fish tugged, but Marcus let it go, his focus on James. "They really look up to you, you know," Marcus said, reeling slowly. James stared at the water, his voice low. "I know. I wish they didn't." "That Collin kid too. You and him are 2 peas in a pod," Marcus added, a faint smile. James shook his head, eyes distant, Jackson's scream echoing in his mind. He cast again, the river's ripple his only answer. The weight of leadership and loss, crushing him. Chapter 12, A Friend's Farewell. The morning sun filtered weakly through Ellsinore's haze, casting a pall over the old shopping mall where the group sheltered. The bookstore's musty air was heavy with grief, the scent of mildewed books and dust mingling with the faint fishy tang from last night's meal. Marcus's haul from the Black River, bass and catfish, grilled on a camp stove, had filled their bellies, a rare moment of plenty thanks to his fishing rods and skill. But no one smiled. The group sat in silence, their faces gaunt, eyes red from sleepless nights. Their supplies, cans of corn, rice, and a few bottles of water, sat untouched, the joy of Marcus's neighborhood run overshadowed by Jackson's fate. Collin stood by the barricaded door, his compound bow leaning against a shelf, his prepper's resolve cracked by dread. Emery sorted her medical kit, her hands trembling, gauze and antiseptic, useless against what was coming. Cameron clutched the Missouri map, its creases worn, as if it held answers. Marcus sat with Maria, his arm around her, her 7th-grade eyes fixed on her tattered bunny, sensing the group's pain. James, his rifle propped nearby, stared at the office door where Jackson rested, his ex-Marine jaw tight, the weight of leadership heavier than ever. Through the office's small window, Jackson's condition was undeniable. His skin, once tanned from track meets, was turning gray, a sickly ash that spread like frost across his arms and neck, the first sign of the stone turn. His leg, bandaged from yesterday's claw slash,
oozed a chalky sludge, the wound's edges hardening like cracked stone. But his eyes, though dim, held a flicker of life, of the Jackson who'd tossed his stress ball and cracked jokes through the apocalypse. He stirred, his voice weak but clear, muffled through the door. "Emery, can you please come talk to me?" Emery froze, her throat tight. She glanced at Collin, who nodded, then at James, whose eyes softened with understanding. She entered the office alone, locking the door behind her, her scalpel tucked in her belt, more for comfort than defense. Jackson sat in the chair, his breathing shallow, his graying hands folded. The room smelled of antiseptic and decay, a fluorescent bulb flickering above, casting stark shadows. "Emery," Jackson said, his voice a rasp but steady. "I know what's happening. Listen, I've lived a good life. I wasn't sad. I had good friends. I'd rather go by one of you ending it than turning into one of those things. Please, have James end this. He's strong enough. I don't want Collin to do it. Let them know that since this all happened, I was really grateful for everything everyone has done. It makes me happy knowing I contributed to the well-being of everyone too." Emery's eyes welled, tears spilling, as she clutched his hand, its coldness piercing her. "Jackson, I can't." He squeezed back, a faint smile breaking through. "You can. Tell him I said thanks, for everything." She nodded, choking back sobs, and left the room, her face streaked with tears. She met James's gaze, and gave a single nod, her lips trembling. James didn't need to ask, he knew. His face hardened, not with anger, but with the grim resolve of a soldier who'd seen death too many times. He grabbed his rifle, though he wouldn't need it, and entered the office, the door clicking shut. Inside, Jackson looked up, drawing every ounce of energy he had. He smiled, his voice soft but clear. "See you in heaven, James. I know you'll be there." James knelt beside him, his knife in hand, his eyes glistening but steady. "Rest easy, kid." He acted swiftly, the blade merciful, sparing Jackson pain and the horror of turning. The room was silent, the act done with the quiet dignity Jackson deserved.
The group moved outside, the mall's parking lot a desolate sprawl of cracked asphalt and scattered carts. They chose a spot under a lone oak, its leaves brittle but still clinging. Collin and Marcus dug a grave, their shovels biting into the soft earth, sweat mixing with tears. The air was thick with the scent of damp soil and distant rot, the town's ruins looming, shattered storefronts, a burned-out diner with a bloodied apron flapping in the breeze, a child's tricycle crushed under a fallen sign. Stone-turned moaned faintly in the distance, their guttural hum a constant shadow. They wrapped Jackson in a blanket from the bookstore, his body lighter than they expected, his gray skin a cruel reminder of the virus's grip. They lowered him into the grave, the earth swallowing their friend. Cameron carved a wooden cross from a broken shelf, his hands shaking but precise, etching Jackson with a pocket knife. Collin placed Jackson's stress ball on the grave, its faded red a splash of color against the dirt, a symbol of his restless spirit. The group stood in a circle, heads bowed, the wind carrying the faint chalky stench of stone turned. Maria clung to Marcus, sobbing softly. Emery wiped her eyes, her nurse's strength crumbling. Cameron gripped Emery's hand, his face pale. Marcus stood tall, his retiree's resilience a quiet anchor. James, his rifle slung, stared at the cross, guilt and grief carving lines in his face. Collin spoke, his voice steady despite the ache in his chest. "Rest in peace, my friend." No one else could speak, their throats choked with loss. The cross stood crooked but proud, Jackson's stress ball glinting in the weak sun. Ellsinore was silent, save for the distant moans, a world that had taken their friend and offered nothing in return. They turned back to the mall, their steps heavy. The fishing rods and meager supplies a lifeline they clung to, but Jackson's absence a wound that wouldn't heal. Chapter 13, Winter's Edge. 6 months after the White Stone virus ravaged the world, Ellsinore, Missouri was a frozen tomb. No cower lit its streets, no radio broke the silence, no government or law stirred the desolation. Society had crumbled, and salvation was a fairy tale. The sky hung heavy, spitting flurries that dusted the Black River's icy banks. The air sharp with frost and the chalky stench of distant stone turned. Winter's first bite gnawed at the group. James, Collin, Emery, Cameron, Marcus, and Maria, who had forged a home in an old shopping mall, their strength born from loss and tempered by survival.
Trauma had hardened them into a formidable unit. James, ex-Marine, gripped his AR-15, its barrel scarred but deadly, his leadership unwavering. Collin, the prepper, wielded his compound bow, arrows fletched with scavenged feathers, his instincts razor-sharp. Emery, clutching Jackson's pistol, honored her friend's memory with every precise shot, her nurse's hands steady. Cameron, once hesitant, now handled a pistol looted from an abandoned camp, his engineer's mind crafting solutions. Marcus, the retired factory worker, was their sniper, his hunting rifle a long-range reaper, his fishing skills feeding them. Maria, 7th grade, was their heart, her braided pigtails bouncing, her patched bunny clutched tight, her smile a beacon they all protected. This group was no easy target. The shopping mall, a 4-building relic of cracked brick and shattered glass, had been reborn as a fortress. The cleanup began weeks after Jackson's burial, a labor of survival and defiance. The parking lot, once a chaos of overturned carts, burned-out cars and bloodied debris, was their first task. They hauled away a sedan's charred husk, its hood crumpled, a child's shoe fused to its seat in melted plastic. Broken glass and rusted rebar were swept into piles burned in a pit to avoid attracting stone turned. Collin and James dragged a toppled sign, Ellsinore Plaza, shop local, to block a drainage ditch, preventing floods. The lot, now clear, gleamed under snow, a defensible expanse. Windows, gaping vulnerabilities were next. The group scavenged plywood from a looted hardware store, its shelves toppled, a cashier's skeleton slumped over a register, fingers clutching a pen. They hauled the wood back, hammering it over the bookstore's windows and the adjacent shops, a pharmacy, a nail salon, a vacant storefront. Nails bitten into the frames, the plywood painted with scavenged black spray paint to blend with the night, hiding their lantern's glow. Gaps were sealed with duct tape, the sound muffled to avoid drawing moans. The entrance's shattered glass doors were replaced with a barricade of steel shelves, bolted tight, a narrow hatch for entry. Cameron's ingenuity shone in the fence, a perimeter of chain link and scavenged wood encircling the mall's front. They uprooted fencing from a nearby schoolyard, its playground swings tangled, a slide warped into a blackened curl. Car doors pried from wrecks, and sharpened rebar spikes reinforced the gate, a gauntlet for any intruder. Inside 2 vehicles, a dented SUV and a rusted van, sat hidden in a shed, gas cans siphoned from abandoned lots. The bookstore became their core, its musty carpet softened with mattresses from a furniture store, curtains of scavenged blankets dividing bedrooms. Cameron rigged a gravity-fed shower, piping river water through PVC and a salvage tank, its cold drip a miracle after months of grime. Solar battery banks, looted from a tech shop, powered lanterns and walkie-talkies, their static a lifeline. A cracked tablet, found in a pawn shop's wreckage, held sitcom episodes, its laugh track sparking joy for Maria on quiet nights. Food was their lifeline, and Marcus's fishing lessons turned the river into a pantry. In the mall's back lot, he taught them to clean fish, his factory worker hands deft with a knife. Under a tarp to hide the scent, he showed Collin how to slit a catfish's belly, peeling back its skin, scraping out guts that steamed in the cold. "Cut here, not too deep," he'd say, Maria giggling as Emery gagged at the slime. The fillets, grilled on a camp stove, fed them for weeks, bones boiled for broth. Marcus's tackle box, brimming with lures, kept the river generous, even as ice crept in. The cleared parking lot offered space for makeshift gardens. Emery, using seeds from a looted nursery, carrots, beans, lettuce, dug plots in raised beds of scavenged soil, framed with broken pallets. The dirt, enriched with fish scraps, promised spring harvests, though winter forced them to rely on fishing and dwindling cans, corn, rice, a lone tin of peaches. They'd learned to ration, each bite a calculation, hunger a constant shadow. This morning, the group gathered in the bookstore, frost seeping through the plywood, the air thick with fishy grease and lantern smoke. Maria, in a scavenged coat, sketched a fish on a book page, humming. Their weapons lay ready, a ritual of trust. Supplies were low, 1 crate of cans, a few water bottles, but the river held, and the mall was secure. James, AR-15 slung, planned the day. Winter's tightening, we need propane, blankets, strip mall a mile east, Collin, Marcus, you're with me. Collin, quiver adjusted, nodded. Might have clothes too. Stone-turned or sparse there. Marcus, rifle propped, grinned. I'll take the high ground. Bank sign has a clear shot. Emery, Jackson's pistol at her hip, checked her medical kit. I'll guard Maria. Watch the fence. Cameron, check the shower tank. Cameron, pistol tucked, pushed up his glasses.
Might rig a heater if we find parts. Maria piped up, eyes bright. Tablet tonight? The funny show? Collin ruffled her hair. Back early, we're on, kiddo. They moved out. James, Collin, and Marcus slipping through the fence's hatch. Emery and Cameron locking it. The scout trio trekked east, Ellsinore's ruins unfolding. A diner's neon flickered, sparking over black ooze. A library's books rotted, a bloodied bookmark fluttering. A dog's carcass, ribs chalk-crusted, marked a stone-turned's path. Snow dusted their boots, the cold biting. Stone-turned moans faint but ever-present. Half a mile away, unseen, 3 figures crouched on a hill, flurries cloaking them. Clad in patched coats, armed with rifles and a machete, they peered through binoculars, the mall's fence glinting. The leader, wiry, jaw-scarred, hissed, settled, stalked. We wait, plan. They don't see us yet. His companions nodded, eyes cold. The group below was a fortress, forged in blood and loss. But predators circled, and winter was no friend. Chapter 14, Blood on the Snow. Ellsinore's winter clamped the shopping mall in a frozen vise, the black river's ice glinting under a moonless sky, its surface cracked like shattered bone. 6 months after the White Stone virus obliterated society, the group, James, Collin, Emery, Cameron, Marcus, and Maria, had turned the mall's ruins into a fortress. Cameron's chain-link fence, bristling with rebar spikes and car doors, guarded the 4 buildings, their plywood-boarded windows cloaking lantern light. 2 vehicles, a gravity-fed shower, solar battery banks, and a tablet with sitcoms sustained them, while Marcus's fish and Emery's garden beds staved off starvation. Stone-turned moans haunted the distance, their calcified horrors a constant shadow, but the group's weapons, James' AR-15, Collin's compound bow, Emery's pistol, Jackson's, Cameron's looted pistol, Marcus's sniper rifle, made them a force to fear. Maria, their 7th-grade heart, bound them, her safety a vow etched in blood. That afternoon, half a mile away, 3 Iron Reavers, Richie, Brock, and Theo, crouched on a snowy hill, binoculars glinting. Part of a brutal gang that had torched towns from Poplar Bluff to Sykeston, they were scavengers who thrived on chaos. Theo, wiry with a scarred jaw, radioed their leader, his voice a hiss. Fortified mall, 6 people, stocked, we hit tonight. The crackled reply, take it clean, no survivors. Night smothered Ellsinore, the mall's bookstore quiet save for Maria's soft humming, her sketchbook open to a smudged horse. The group slept in makeshift bedrooms, mattresses on musty carpet, blankets scavenged from looted homes. James jolted awake, his ex-Marine instincts screaming as engines roared outside, a guttural snarl of motorcycles and a truck's diesel growl shattering the silence. Everyone, get up, now, James barked, snatching his AR-15. The group scrambled, adrenaline spiking. Collin knocked an arrow, his bow taut, eyes blazing with prepper's focus. Emery gripped Jackson's pistol, its weight a ghost of her friend's laughter, her nurse's hands steady. Cameron clutched his pistol, glasses fogged but resolve firm. Marcus slung his hunting rifle, his factory worker calm masking a sniper's precision. Maria, clutching her blood-splattered bunny, ducked behind Emery, her braids trembling. Outside, 2 motorcycles and a battered truck screeched to the fence gate, headlights stabbing the dark, snow swirling in their beams. 9 Iron Reavers dismounted, their rifles, machetes, and crowbars gleaming, faces twisted with hunger and malice. Theo, shotgun raised, stepped forward, his scarred jaw twitching. Everyone come out, and maybe you all survive this. Theo shouted, his voice slicing the night. James and Marcus slipped to the mall's side, scaling a fire escape to a low roof. Rifles ready, their breath fogging in the cold. Collin strode to the gate, bow drawn, his silence a challenge. Emery and Cameron flanked him, pistols up. Maria crouched behind a scavenged crate, her eyes wide but trusting. Collin locked onto Theo's gaze, his glare ablade, saying nothing. Theo paced, smirking. "So, were you the leader or what?" Collin stared, unmoving, his arrows fletching steady. "Oh, I see. So we're playing it that way." Theo signaled, and his men, Richie, Brock, and 6 others, raised rifles, barrels glinting, a wall of death aimed at the group. "Are we still playing the quiet game?" Collin's voice was cold iron. "We're a peaceful group. We don't want trouble." "Well, I hate to be the bad news bringer, but trouble is all that's on the menu." Theo sneered, spitting into the snow. He waved his men forward. "Tear it down." 4 Reavers, Richie and 3 grunts, charged the gate, crowbars clawing at the chain link, metal screeching. James, crouched on the roof, sighted his AR-15 and fired, 2 shots ripping through Richie's chest, blood spraying as he crumpled, his crowbar skidding. A second grunt's head snapped back, a red mist blooming, his body flumping into the snow, steaming. Marcus's rifle cracked, a 3rd Reaver's throat erupting in a crimson geyser, his machete spinning into a crate. The Reavers roared, returning fire, bullets chewing the mall's brick, sparks flying as a round grazed the fence's rebar. Collin dropped his bow and tackled Theo, the shotgun clattering into a snowbank. They crashed to the ground, fists hammering, Theo's scarred face snarling as he drove a knee into Collin's ribs, cracking bone. Collin grunted, blood dripping from a split lip, and smashed his elbow into Theo's nose, cartilage crunching, blood gushing. Theo clawed for a knife, slashing Collin's arm, the blade carving a jagged line, blood soaking his sleeve. Collin roared, grappling Theo's wrist, twisting until the knife dropped, and slammed his fist into Theo's jaw, teeth cracking. Inside the fence, 2 Reavers, Brock and a wiry thug, breached, kicking through a weakened panel. They ransacked the shed, ripping gas cans free, one smashing a solar bank, sparks hissing. Emery fired Jackson's pistol, her shots precise, one bullet punching through the thug's shoulder, blood splattering the shed's wall. He screamed, dropping a can, but kept swinging a crowbar. Cameron, behind a crate, fired his pistol, the recoil jarring his arm, a bullet grazing Brock's thigh, slowing him as he cursed, blood trailing. A Reaver's rifle flashed from the truck, a bullet grazing James' thigh on the roof, tearing denim and flesh. He collapsed, blood pooling, pain searing, but propped his AR-15, firing a burst that shredded a biker's chest, his body slumping over his motorcycle, the engine screaming as it tipped, wheels spinning in the snow. Marcus's sniper shot boomed, catching Brock between the eyes, his skull bursting, brains splattering the fence. 3 Reavers, panicked, sprinted into the dark, abandoning their truck, its headlights still blazing. Collin and Theo rolled, snow caking their wounds. Theo headbutted Collin, stars exploding in his vision, blood streaming from his nose. Collin clawed Theo's throat, pinning him, and drew his knife, driving it into Theo's chest with a sickening crunch. Blood bubbling as Theo gasped, eyes glazing, his body twitching, then still. Collin staggered up, spitting blood, his arm slashed, ribs bruised, face a mask of crimson. A stray Reaver shot rang out, the bullet striking Cameron's forehead, his glasses shattered, blood and bones spraying as he collapsed, his pistol clattering, body limp in the snow, a red halo spreading. "No!" Emery screamed, her voice a raw, primal wail, tearing through the gunfire. She emptied Jackson's pistol into the last Reaver, bullets ripping his chest, stomach, throat, his body jerking like a puppet, collapsing in a heap, blood steaming on the pavement. The fight lasted 10 minutes, an eternity of blood, screams, and cordite. The Iron Reavers were gone, 6 dead, 3 fled, their truck abandoned, 1 motorcycle still idling, its exhaust choking the air. The mall was a battlefield, the fence bent, gas cans scattered, a solar bank smoldering, blood soaking the snow, pooling in tire tracks. James limped from the roof, his thigh grazed, blood staining his pants, pain twisting his face. Marcus slid down, unharmed, helping Collin, whose face was swollen, blood dripping from his nose and arm, breath ragged. Maria, trembling but safe, clung to Emery's leg, her bunny soaked red. Emery, her pistol smoking, stood frozen, eyes locked on Cameron's body. Emery knelt, her hands shaking as she draped the scavenged blanket over Cameron. His cracked glasses glinting beside him, his face peaceful but wrong, blood seeping through the fabric. Tears streamed as she grabbed her medical kit, voice breaking. "James, sit." He slumped, wincing. "It's just a flesh wound. Only grazed me," he said, teeth gritted. Emery cleaned the gash, blood and snow mixing, and wrapped it with gauze, her hands steady despite her sobs. She turned to Collin, stitching his arm's jagged cut, wiping blood from his face, his chest heaving, eyes distant but alive. James and Collin clasped forearms, blood-slick hands gripping, a silent vow. "Still here?" James rasped. Collin nodded, coughing blood. Marcus, tears cutting tracks through his weathered face, whispered, "Cameron, he was ours." Maria buried her face in Marcus's coat, sobbing, her bunny dripping red. The next day, they buried Cameron beside Jackson's grave under the mall's lone oak, its branches bare, snow dusting the earth. A wooden cross, carved with Cameron, stood beside Jackson's, the faded stress ball a sentinel in the frost. Emery sat alone at the gravesite, Cameron's wedding ring on a chain around her neck, Jackson's pistol holstered, her face hollowed by grief. 6 months ago, she'd lost Jackson, her friend whose laughter had steadied her through Hazelwood's horrors, his stress ball a spark of joy in a broken world. Now Cameron, her husband, her anchor, was gone, his gentle voice, his engineer's dreams of a better camp, his hand in hers through every nightmare. The double loss was a knife twisting in her chest, each breath a struggle, her tears freezing on her cheeks. She clutched the ring, whispering, "I can't do this without you," her voice lost in the wind, the grave silent, accusing. The world had taken her family, her hope. Leaving only duty to Maria, to the group, to survive, Collin checked on her, his arm bandaged, face bruised but healing. "Emery," she waved him off, her voice raw, "I need this, alone." James, limping, watched from the fence, his own wounds a dull ache, knowing her pain but respecting her solitude. The mall stood, its fence battered but repairable, their supplies salvageable. James and Collin cleaned up in the shower, cold water stinging, their bodies scarred but unbroken. The Iron Reavers were gone, their blood a testament to the group's victory, but Cameron's grave was a wound deeper than any bullet. Emery's grief, mirrored by Jackson's cross, burned in them all, a silent oath to keep fighting, for Maria, for each other, in a world that devoured the weak.